Can welcome everybody, and I suppose this is the first time that the toolkit, as a almost final version, will be presented, and there will be two parts of the presentation. The first part will show you a bit the background or the reasons why we are doing what we are doing actually in the project, and some important aspects to be taken into consideration while developing pilot actions. And the second one will be the tools as such. And please let me sometimes go faster with through the presentation because we've got lots of information, and unfortunately I've got only half an hour. Okay? So some background and objective of the toolkit, and in the application form of the project, this is the output number 4.2.6, which is called Toolkit with Methods and Instruments of Success Stories. The aim of this toolkit is to present instruments for adaptation with practical guidelines and materials that are really easy to be used. This is very important because for us in the project, we've got within the work package 4, we've got the very important part which is called pilot actions. And the toolkit should support all partners or organizations that are going to prepare, plan, and implement pilot actions. And all tools are foreseen as a common transnational instruments contributing to the implementation of those pilot actions. And what is even more important, no one should read the toolkit as a Bible. This is only something just to give you an input for your further work, give you an ideas what kind of instrument can be used and how. And the toolkit tries to face or give an answers to the challenges, to the global challenges that all regions are facing right now. And this is the part that I'm right now going to present. So why are we doing this? I suppose one of the most important aspects are the megatrends nowadays, socio-economical megatrends in the European Union and in the world. So the first one is the globalization, which means that nowadays we live in the open market, open economy, where the flow of goods, finances, funds, and products and human resources is just taking place. And there are no borders, and this influence, or this aspect has a very significant, really significant impact on the situation in the regions. The second aspect and second mega trend is knowledge economy, so-called knowledge economy, which comes from the time or from the point that the typical traditional resources for production doesn't play as big role anymore. So nowadays, the modern economy, the regions that are developing very well, and the business is based on the products that comes from the knowledge, human knowledge, which has a great impact on the policy on the regional level. And demographic change, and I suppose this is what we all know, that nowadays we face the problem or challenge of aging society. And sometimes we were discussing within the project what we are talking about. We are talking about capitalization of knowledge of people that went abroad and they would like to come back. So capitalization means that we should use those resources as much as we can. And this is something that is linked directly to the process of demographic change. Because if we do not possess the quantity of the human resources in the regions, it is even more important to focus on the quality of those people. Which means we should reduce this negative aspect of aging society by increasing the level of the quality of those people. And I suppose, and this is the basic idea of the project, that we say that people that went abroad, they possess very unique knowledge that cannot be learned, for example, during the study in the original region. So they see something new, they see something different, and then, after coming back, and I suppose, excuse me, we heard lots about the process and the flow of the migration and people, also within the work package 3 in this project, which means analysis, that those people are willing to come back. And the question is how to use them, how to use the knowledge. And those aspects has a very important consequences with a huge impact. The first one is the competition about so-called creative class. And I suppose we should also say that if you are talking about regions and development of the region and regional economy, and also this unique and most important resource at the moment, which means people and brains, all regions are competing for the same target group. And I suppose this is also something that should be said. The second consequence is the new global hierarchy of the regions, which means that some areas like rural area in Germany, that is typical industrial area, they do not play as big role anymore. Which means that on the top of the hierarchy of the regions, we can see the regions that are mostly urban. And secondly, they are attracting so-called talents or creative class, in the end, as Richard Florida says. And they base in their development, they focus on the knowledge that those talents are bringing with them. And the third consequence is the innovation and the way how we should innovate in the non-metropolitan areas. And I suppose this is not a top secret that we know it, that rural areas or non-metropolitan areas face the problem of the innovation level that is acceptable or that has enough positive impact or so-called critical mass in their socio-economical development. The question is how we can innovate in non-metropolitan areas. And I suppose this is also possible. Example. Nowadays, the buzzword key enabling technology. Yeah? So we should probably start, and I suppose all of you know some examples of the combination of so-called key enabling technology with, for example, traditional industry. And the question is how we can create a mixture of this new technology, knowledge, very intensive knowledge, with the resources and capacities of the non-metropolitan areas. Probably the new idea coming from the European Commission, like smart specialization, could be an answer to this question. Who is the target group? So this was, let's say, the background. This is important to know for the toolkit. Who is the target group of the toolkit? It is on the third place, but primarily the project partners that are going to implement the pilot actions are the main target group of the toolkit at the moment. But the idea of the project is that we should have a sustainability of our results beyond the project, and that's why we have decided, and we discussed, and we agreed on that decision takers or makers are probably the second target group that should be addressed, and intermediaries and business association or business that should or could use the tools or instruments developed in their daily work. How to use? We've got a very nice, challenging aim, I suppose, because we said that we would like to have the toolkit written and developed in the way that is very easy to use. Let's say a recipe for success. On the other hand, there should be a broad spectrum of different tools that are addressing the topics and the pillars, or three pillars of the project return. But what is still important, what we saw in the best practice, from the best practice analysis, that before starting implementing the tools, so this tangible, specific, sometimes simple actions, it is important to talk about the framework. So strategic framework, political framework, like regional strategies, like other strategic documents that should correlate and work together or create a space for the implementation of the tool. And I suppose, okay, good. And if you will read the toolkit as such, you will see also the overview of all tools and the best practice connected to every single tool. Because what we have done in the project, in this work package 4, we did an analysis of the best practices that we were able to find in Europe, in European countries, and we tried to use them as an idea for the toolkit. The toolkit is split into 3 main pillars or thematic aspects that are defined in the project, which means reattract, and you can find the tools in this category that try to give an idea, or let's say support people in the actions that are going to attract immigrants to go back to their origin home or regions. The second group is reintegrate, which means that those tools are focusing on the aspect of career, so professional career on the one hand, but on the other hand, they are dealing with so-called private personal development, so well-being of people that are going to come back to their original region. The third group, main third group, are the tools focusing on the aspect re-employ, which is defined in the return project as a way to act in an entrepreneurial way, which can mean, on the one hand, to start up the business after coming back to their original region of origin, or to act intrapreneurial within the company where the people will work. And we've got the fourth category, which is called general tools that can be used for different aspects and different topics. Every tool in each category is presented and try to explain what is done why it is done, how it is done, and what and who should be involved to be able to implement the tool. Every tool is described as a single instrument that can be used or mixed or put together, so everyone that would like to use the toolkit can somehow combine different tools by picking the correct one for the specific situation in the region. This is the short overview of all tools in all categories. And the first, now we are coming to the single tools, and please let me focus mostly on the tools that will be used in the pilot actions within the project. So I will probably skip some slides if it's okay. So the first tool is the concept of ambassador, that is meant as a person that can help to attract migrants directly on the one hand, and on the other hand, this person can help to promote regions and the services in the region and also outside the region. So the main idea is to create a network of people, in the best case, with the remigration background, with the knowledge and experience, how it is to be migrant and coming back home. And those people should work in the network, and they should contact and try to talk to people, to migrants or remigrants, to companies, to the intermediaries, to convince them to act or to focus in their daily work on the capitalization of the knowledge of the migrants, or first coming back home. So the main object of the ambassador is to disseminate information and about the region, and also about initiatives in the regions, about initiatives that support returning migrants. If it's going about who should be involved and maybe partners or networks, so two main elements are absolutely necessary. The first element is the network of the ambassadors as such, and the second part is the network of the organizations, intermediaries, groups of interest, business associations, etc., that the ambassadors can contact in their work if they want to, let's say, convince them or show the ways how to work with remigrants and what is the added value from the remigration process. Specific resources from the best practice, I can say that it is really important that the person that are playing the role of the ambassadors have a knowledge, possess the knowledge about regions, about economy, about networks, about organizations, but in the best case, as I said already, those persons should have also a remigration background, because they should know how it is in the real life to come back, what kind of problems those people face. So the ambassadors are part of this remigration background, and the contact doesn't have to possess any special resources or skills. Of course, communication skills, to be able to talk to people is important, but other way around, there are no other specific resources needed. The idea is that, and maybe it's utopia, but the idea is that such ambassadors should work on the voluntary base and they should engage for the development of the region. If it's possible, I suppose every partner and every organization should answer this question. So the methodology, building up communication platform, provide training for migrants and for companies, then build regional networks, organize workshops with migrants, business, and intermediaries, and maybe roundtables. This is the idea coming from Kielce, from Świętokrzyskie region, and provide information and material to support ambassador. As I said, critical factors, communication and negotiation skills, good information and about the region, and willing to do. If it's going about hotline, this is the second one of the main tool in the toolkit. The aim of the hotline is to create, let's say, a possibility for the remigrants to contact the region and to talk and to ask questions. And this is one of the main outputs in the pilot, if it's going about pilot actions in the return project. So the hotlines should be for free. This was written in the application form, although from the first part of the project, the results say something different. So if it's about critical factors, which will be presented in a while, we have found out the information, the knowledge, that it doesn't have to be necessary for free. So people, if they want to call and they would like to know, to have an, information about the project, or what are the circumstances in the region, what are the problems, and how they could get support for in the coming back, the people do not care about if it's for free or not. So I suppose this is something that should be reconsidered within the project and for the final recommendations. And the hotline should involve several partners. So the main organization that is, let's say, operating as a hotline with the staff, and network of partners contributing to the hotline by delivering information about specific aspects in their life, like law, like housing, like kindergartens, job opportunities, etc., etc. Hotline, what we found out is that the hotline should be opened also should operate also after regular working time. I suppose you can imagine, as you're working, you're sitting in the office from 8 to 4, or and you're abroad, and you would like to use a hotline, and unfortunately your boss is sitting near you, and it's not really possible to use this opportunity. So I suppose this is something that should be reconsidered, because I know that in our pilot actions, the plan is that the hotline will be open in the working time, and I suppose this should be somehow reconsidered if it shouldn't be changed. There are some solutions that were discussed yesterday while the task force sessions, how to solve such problems, and I suppose we still will have to work on it. Then the hotline should deliver the most important information, which means that there shouldn't be an overlapping of the work between hotline and specific institutions like labor offices, etc., etc. This is not the aim. It's going about the first contact point to get the most important information, and maybe direct numbers or contact details to the persons that are working in the specific area. While planning methodology and day-to-day work, I suppose this is very important to, let's say, standardize or to have a routine procedures. like minutes or notes from the calls, like database of the information, like brochures or any other kind of database with the information that should be given to the customers, let's say. Very important is the monitoring procedure, which means that because this is something new, hotline for immigrants, and we are still learning, this is really crucial point to be able to learn and to adapt and to develop further the hotline, just to monitor and to have reports, for example, every 6 months on the calls, on the customers, what kind of information do they need, etc., etc. And what is still to be considered, special training for the staff working as a hotline person. So once again, accessibility, it's working time. Hotline doesn't have to be for free. There should be separate phone number if it's within existing organization, and it should be still considered the long-term financing, so sustainability, so-called. And the hotline should be accessible from the home country and from abroad. The next one, website, portal to the region. This is the tool, this is the tool, one of the main tools that will be implemented within the return project. And the website's role is so-called, say, welcome to the region. You are really welcomed, and we want to see you, we want to support you, and we would like to show you that even if you are abroad, you are far away from your home region, it is still worth to look into the situation and maybe someday to come back. If it's going about website, this is important that if it's going about executor partners and networks, the situation is more or less the same like with the hotline. So the operative organization that is dealing with the website, updating, working, etc., etc., and the network of partners delivering necessary information. There are no specific recommendations. What kind of information the website should present? Probably the best answer is to show how attractive the region is. And I suppose this is the only good answer. It can be also combined with the job work portal, which will be presented as a separate tool, or it can be only simple website presenting the region. While planning the website, it is really necessary to think about the perspective in the long term. What kind of website, what kind of target group we are going to address, what kind of information we are going to show. Because sometimes if it's not well planned in advance, it can happen that after half a year of existing of such website, someone will have to take decision. Unfortunately, we have to do it once again, because the website in this way is not adaptable, it's not expandable, and something has to be changed or maybe done once again. So this is very important to plan it in advance, what kind of information and how the website should work in the long-term perspective. I suppose this is also not a secret that the website should be updated, up to date. There is nothing worse than information that is not updated. The website should say welcome. The website should show how beautiful and attractive the region is, and give also the most important information like contacts or to the specific organizations that can give a support in the next step. This very briefly, this is the idea that we saw in one project, postcard, a reminder from home. Comparing to the previous tools, this tool and the next one is focusing on the emotion, which means that, let's say, there's no real tangible added value from the tool, but those two tools, like postcard and calendar, should remind people how it is in their home region. So this is a very emotional level, and it should be like this. The postcard as such is a normal postcard, for example, and how it should be distributed, this is probably the biggest problem, and how to find the target group. In Germany, for example, this is quite popular to get such postcards for free in the restaurants or pubs. So this is maybe the one option how to do it. I will skip executor partners and networks. What is probably very important and one of the most critical factor. Such action, because this is one of the marketing tools, shouldn't be done constantly, just not to kill the effect of such postcard. And probably this is very difficult to find out what is the effect of such postcard. So this is a very emotional level, and it should be like this. The postcard as such is a normal postcard, for example, and how it should be distributed, this is probably the biggest problem, and how to find the target group. In Germany, for example, this is quite popular to get such postcards for free in the restaurants or pubs. So this is maybe the one option how to do it. I will skip executor partners and networks. What is probably very important and one of the most critical factor. Such action, because this is one of the marketing tools, shouldn't be done constantly, just not to kill the effect of such postcard. And probably this is very difficult to find out what is the effect of such postcard. The next idea we found in one of the best practice examples is the photo calendar. And it could be connected also to the web portal or postcard or another marketing tools that should also remind and stay on the emotional level. And what we saw, for example, is the idea that, for example, migrants or people from the region could compete. So something like competition for the calendar, for photos, for pictures, could be organized, and it can also involve several people in the process. If it's going about postcard and calendar, who should do this? Probably the organizations or some kind of public authorities dealing with the marketing, with the investment or attracting investors, some kind of organizations that are responsible for the promotion of the region. Job portal that could be probably connected to also to the website. It's going about the tool that presents the jobs or vacancies that are directly connected to the skills that can be only possessed abroad, which means the vacancies that are connected to this unique knowledge gained in the foreign country. This tool should aim on the employment in the region and should match, let's say, companies, mostly SMEs, that are going to act internationally and need this, let's say, experience and knowledge how to do it, how the life abroad looks like, how to contact people, how to talk, how to negotiate, etc., etc. Our recommendation is to combine job portal with the website, which means that it could be also connected and put into one organization, but what is important is the close cooperation to the labor offices, job agencies, companies, etc., etc. So probably this is one of the critical parts of this tool. And of course, approaching companies and collecting job offers as an activity. This is probably the hard work, but probably also the work that should be simply done. And monitoring evaluation.
Already skipping to the next presentation, so I'm obliged to stop you. Although the presentation is very interesting, so I ask the conclusion.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry, it's just like the toolkit is simply quite long. So some conclusions, and first of all, if we are talking about using and implementing tools, the strong recommendation is not to use a single tool, because the effect can be not as big as we would like to have. So this is really strong recommendation to use a set of different tools to create a synergy effect, and in the end to have critical mass of the instruments supporting remigration process. And I suppose also the most critical part is the network. So implementing such tools needs or requires a strong network of the organization within the region and maybe also abroad. So I suppose those three main points from my side. So thank you very much, and the rest please read in the toolkit.